Alrighty guys, we're here with a video, just a little tutorial on gearing in Forza, or any game for that matter, that has customizable gearing. The idea for this video is show you how to actually gear your car to where you're not bogging down or you feel like your gears are just too short to be useful. There's a couple different solutions to this, but I'm going to show you the most realistic one, in my opinion. So all I did to this car was put in the race transmission. So whenever you go in to upgrade your motor or whatever, be it flywheel or whatever, if you notice, there's this little performance graph here. This is a engine dyno graph. The function of this is to show you at what points your car or the motor is performing well and bad at. The reason why I picked this car is because it has a good torque and horsepower curve that are stable and steady throughout the entire rev range, all the way up until redline. And the goal of setting your gear ratios is you kind of want to stay in the area to where you like kind of like that sweet spot of peak horsepower and torque. That's how you get the most out of your motor, is through the transmission. Like, you can have a pretty badly tuned car in other areas, but if your transmission is tuned properly, in most cases you can make up the difference, unless you're like an X class or S2 class, like the big guns or the big boys races, the meta, if you want to be like that. I'll just show you the importance of gear ratios. Just real quick, here is a bad gear ratio setup. And then now here's a good gear ratio setup. See how big of a difference there is? If you notice in the bad gear ratios, second is too short, first gear is too short. Second in the menu is tuned properly, but as a result of second being bad, just a combination of bad tuning. And then third is way too long. Like, if it weren't for this car, or for this car's engine, having such a good power band. A third would literally just bog you down just so bad if this were on any car that had turbos or something like that, because it shifts whenever you shift into third, so puts it so low on the rev range that it would be before the turbos are even spooled up if this car had turbos. But since it has a supercharger, it doesn't really matter. But that's just a really good example. And because of third being so long, fourth is super short. I did that intentionally just to show, like, if you really don't know what you're doing and you screw with this stuff, if you're just starting out and you have no idea what you're doing, just leave it at default. Leave the gears at default, because they're pretty good for what they are. But if you're doing a more targeted build like this, that's whenever you want to tune something, or if the default gears are just too short or too long for the car's peak, or like the sweet spot in the car's motor in the rev range, that's whenever you want to gear and tune. The way you do that is, let's grab a different car for this. Alright, so here we are in the RXC Turbo. So this is the custom gear ratio that I did for this, because this is one way of gearing a car. There's several different ways, but just they all kind of follow the same concept. And just a general tune for those who want to copy the tune, if you can figure out what parts I'm using, haha. Or you could just download the tune. Username is up in the top left corner if you want to find that. It's an end of S or top of S2 class car, and it performs very well, as you saw in that clip earlier. Here's the default race gearing, which for this car fits it very well, very well. It's just too long. Solution to that, there you go. Gearing's fixed for this car. But you're obviously watching this video because you want a more certain answer. So personally, what I would do is, let's just bring this back a little bit. I would make first longer. So in this case, a 3.0 would be good. And considering whenever peak torque kind of finishes on this, that would be a good place for the gears to start. Because first gear is your let's get going gear. Second gear is the placement gear, or the reference gear for all the other gears. That's kind of how you have to think of it. And then you just want them to slowly start trailing down in size to decrease the amount of strain on the motor. And it's kind of like a progressive kind of thing. And sometimes I'll make the final gear just a little bit shorter than what you would think it would be, just to make it to where it's easier for the car to maintain that speed, or maintain that gear. And it just really helps out with a lot of performance. Let's make this actually a little bit longer. You'll see why. Because in the clip that I showed previously is a different ratio than this. But just kind of on the spot ratio. We're here at the mountain. Not the exact spot as shown in the previous clips, because I want a bit more variety. but we're pretty close to that spot, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, we are really close to it. But if you're paying attention to how the tachometer is looking, don't care about the miles per hour, because that's realistically what you're looking for, is getting the engine in that sweet spot, or keeping the RPMs in the sweet spot where the motor is at its optimum performance all the time, or as often as it can be. And what matters more is how you gear it, and not what the speed is. Because you can have a high speed, but if it takes a while to get there, the person who accelerates faster is going to get to the next corner first, and therefore beat you. At least that's my mindset when it comes to this. Always in that one spot, it always just stutters, or like just get a short freeze or whatever. I swear they have not fixed one glitch, graphical or actual technical glitch, in this game since before release. They have not. I still get all the same glitches and bugs since day one. So, week one. But if you notice with this, the ratio is different, and I made the gears longer to make a point. Excuse my bad driving. If you notice, it's taken longer for the car to accelerate, even though the gearing is done mostly properly. Each individual gear is just a little bit too long, and so the car isn't accelerating as fast as it was with the good ratio example previously shown. But I'll just run through that one more time, so you guys, if you didn't notice, you don't have to rewind the video. I'll just, it was a bit of come on, of all times while I'm recording. But anyways. See how I'm able to at least still stay in the power band? So whenever I exit a corner, it's not bogging down and just being ridiculous like it was in the bad ratio example. Always in that one spot, I swear. Anyways, I'm sure you guys get the gist of it. So I'll end the video here. I just want to say though that the only thing I did to upgrade this car was just add in the race transmission and tune the gears. That's all I did to this car.